Well, good morning, everybody. Today we're doing something a little different. We are having someone that graduated from our last class. This is Jeremy Smith.
All right.
And Jeremy came in every day from Gresham to this program. And he was one of the first to get hired and doing very well in his new position, although it's not that new now.
Yeah.
And he just wants to share his experience with you about the CPT program. And so we actually wrote down some questions to share with you. And at the end, we hope that you'll have a moment to ask some questions of Jeremy. So let's go ahead and get started. So Jeremy, what interested you about the CPT training program that you learned about here at WorkSource?
Well, I was at a point in my life where, I was going from job to job, anywhere from working at McDonald's to, working temp jobs at some of the other temp agencies, and I just really wasn't happy with the jobs that I had been working, how long they've been lasting, the pay, and I really wanted to get some experience under my belt or some education that would afford me the opportunity to get into one of these jobs that would turn into a career.
Great,
So.
great. Out of the 4 categories in the CPT program, the safety, quality practices and measurements, manufacturing processes, and production and maintenance awareness, what did you most enjoy? And what was the most impressive when interviewing with employers?
I'd have to say that the quality practices and measurement module, probably for the blueprint reading and learning how to read assembly drawings, the GD&T. Where I work now, it's really important to follow directions in the work instructions and the technical drawings so that I can properly assemble the products that we make. So.
Okay. What kind of skills do you use in your current position that you learned from the CPT program?
Blueprint reading, assembling products. I do quite a bit of soldering. While we didn't do any hands-on soldering in class, we did learn a bit about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I also had a little bit of personal experience with that, so that's helped a little bit as well. And just understanding the process of how things are done, like using routers for the jobs. I had no idea what a router was before I came to the CPT class, and that's helped me out a lot in my current position, because some of that stuff can be kind of complex at first when you take a look at it. So.
Were there any surprises you learned in the CPT program?
I wouldn't say there were any surprises, but definitely I've gleaned quite a bit of information and experience from the program.
How did the CPT program give you the skills to be successful in the workplace? Was there something in particular the employer wanted to have on his team?
Basically, in a nutshell, putting all of this experience and classroom instruction together with my dedication, my willingness to learn, to be a team player, to work well under pressure, under stress. These were all key things, especially during their interview, that brought them to their decision to hire me.
Mm-hmm.
So these are definitely all things that helped me gain the position that I had.
Yeah. The interpersonal skills then were
Yeah.
very important.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Kind of answers the next question. So how did you land your current position? Tell us about that.
I have been in contact with several of the temp agencies while I was in class, before I was in class, and after I graduated. And one of them was Aerotech. A representative by the name of Nolan Coffey was working with me, and he, I'd been telling him about the program, about the kinds of things I've been learning, and he really made an effort to try to find me a position that would work well for me and that would pay well, so that all of my hard work, dedication, and education would pay off. And he told me that there was a company in Milwaukee that was hiring, looking for people to do some through-hole soldering.
Mhm.
And he asked me if I was interested, and sure enough, I definitely was interested. That was the type of job that I was looking for in the electronics industry. That was one of the keywords and experience that I had placed on my resume,
Mhm.
hoping to land a position like that. And I did. I went out and I took a solder test, and they were impressed with my skill, even though I was somewhat new at it.
Mhm.
And not even 30 minutes after leaving, they called me back and
Wow.
extended a conditional work offer at $15 an hour.
Mhm.
And so I took it.
Right. So are you an assembler, or what is your title there?
I am an assembler. So I work for a company called OEQ that is owned by a British company called Meggitt. They were recently acquired by Meggitt. We're an aerospace company that makes power supplies, among other things. I work directly for a department called the AMRAAM department, which is the Advanced Medium Range Air-to-Air Missile. We have contracts with the United States Air Force to build these missiles for them. And that's pretty much what I do. I build power supplies and electronics and avionics for different systems.
Okay. Okay. Well, now that you have some strong technical skills, what's next for your career?
This was attempt to hire position, and it has been my goal to work hard and to complete my on-the-job training, so that when that day does come, that the contract is over, that they will hire me directly. And so far things are looking good. I've been talking with all of my leads and volunteering to work overtime, to learn new things, asking all the right questions. And I think that's really separated me from everybody else that is working there, or that has worked there, that may have succeeded or may not have succeeded, is that I've always volunteered to work when other people didn't maybe want to work that day, or they just simply said, it's not my job, you know. And they like to hear things like that, you know, that, I will, do whatever work you need to get done, and, work whatever hours that you need me to work. And that, coupled with my experience and my dedication, has so far impressed them and given me an upper hand, so to speak. And things are looking really good. And like I said, that is my goal, to get hired on permanently for that company, because I love this job. It's probably the greatest job I've ever had. And there's just so many things about it that make it great for me. And that's what I want. I want a career, not a job.
Great. So tell me about the interview that you had with them. Was there a panel? Was it one-on-one? Did they give you an assessment? Was there a personality test?
Well, that's a good question. It was actually a set of a few different interviews. I definitely had to take an assessment test, even though I had the, what was the assessment test we had to take here before the class?
The NCRC?
The NCRC, yeah. So, taking that, I thought, okay, I my math, location skills, reading, all that, I thought I was squared away. Well, as it turned out, they had their own tests.
Oh, no.
And I had to take a reading test that actually quite a few people fail. And they purposely make that test difficult because of the work instructions and the technical detail involved in assembling their products. You must follow their directions at all times and to the letter. So, like I said, they make that test purposely difficult. And Nolan had warned me. He goes, a lot of people fail the test. You might have to take it a couple of times. And I took my time, and I read through each question. It was a reading test, and I passed it with flying colors. So I think preparing myself mentally, and having all the experience with coming to class here every day and focusing on the curriculum, probably helped me out a lot too.
Mhm.
But I had to take that test, I had to pass it, and then the second part of the interview was interviewing with another lead to take a solder test.
Oh,
So they sat me down and gave me a small board with a few diodes, some resistors, some caps, and they had me do some through-hole soldering. I finished that in about 15 minutes and took a look at it, and they were really impressed, you know. And like I said, I had personal experience soldering, but not work experience. And I was excited that I impressed them because I wasn't sure if I was going to do as good as I did.
Mhm.
And once I passed that part, I moved on to the manager. I interviewed with a manager, and she asked me, you know, a few questions like, when was a time that I found myself in a situation where I had to deal with conflict, and how did I deal with it? And there was a few other questions that she had asked, you know, about past work experience and about how I deal with other circumstances and situations. And then I talked a little bit about my resume and my work experience, and everything went really well. And like I said, they called me back about half an hour after I left and
Wow.
extended the job.
It's very impressive. Great. So lastly, do you have any advice for the CPT class? We have about 1 month to go until we graduate. What words of wisdom do you have for us?
There are definitely a lot of jobs out there, and in my experience, it has been difficult to find a job that I really enjoy, and not just a place that I go and, man, I really don't feel like going to work today, this sucks, you know, I'd rather be doing something else. No, I actually love going to work, and I love doing what I do. I love working with the people that I work with. Some of the people that are working there have been there for 20, 30, 40 years.
Wow.
And, you know, to be in that kind of environment and to do the things that I do, you know, it's kind of a blessing. It's a once in a blue moon kind of thing, I think, for me. So my advice is to just keep at it, and, you know, keep your head up and stay persistent,
Mm-hmm.
and you will find the job that you're looking for.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I know you have some handouts that you brought with you today. Would you like
Yeah,
to share that?
So some of the things that, you know, that I learned, and that I'm sure you guys are learning in this class, were things like, let's see, going over like SPC and like some of the, just in a nutshell, some of the things that I've learned here directly translated into the workplace. Like every day we have something called a DLA meeting, and it stands for Daily Layered Accountability. And we go over things like safety, delivery, inventory, productivity, Pareto charts, and these are all kind of things that you know, fall into the categories of Kanban and Kaizen and like all these things that, you know, I learned here in class, and I never really either noticed these concepts or worked at a job where these concepts are utilized.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of wanted to, you know, show, you know, a few examples of how like the curriculum directly translated
Sure.
into, you know, the workforce. Another one of these forms is an on-the-job training list that I use as well.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going to help secure a permanent position there because it's showing that I have taken an effort and an initiative to learn or become cross-trained in all these areas so that I become a valuable employee and someone worth hiring.
Great. All right. Well, thank you, Jeremy. We're
Yeah.
going to pause here.
Yeah.